They frame me, they blame me, they say I'm the one who killed Tupac. 30 years, I never said anything different. Because I know the truth, I know God know the truth, I know Pac know the truth.
Suge Knight had stayed silent for decades, letting whispers swirl around Tupac's murder, until now. Moments before a shocking attack inside his jail cell, he finally broke that silence. And what he revealed could flip everything we thought we knew about Tupac's death. So what really happened? Let's break it down. The truth behind Tupac's final hours, straight from Suge Knight himself. For nearly 30 years, the world's been obsessed with one question. What went down that night, September 7th, 1996? Theories have exploded, documentaries have recycled the same clues, and generations have grown up haunted by the mystery. But now, in 2025, from a prison cell in California, Marion Suge Knight, once the most feared man in hip-hop, says he's ready to tell it all. And according to him, the truth behind Tupac's last days is darker, deeper, and way more complicated than anyone ever imagined. It starts like any great tragedy, with a night that should have been normal. Tupac, just 25 and at the peak of fame, was in Las Vegas for Mike Tyson's heavyweight fight against Bruce Seldon. Suge, the towering CEO of Death Row Records, was right beside him. After the match, a violent encounter inside the MGM Grand set off the chain reaction that would change everything. Surveillance footage shows Tupac, Suge, and their crew attacking Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, a known Southside Crip, payback, they believed, for stealing a Death Row medallion. But that moment of revenge would come back to haunt them just hours later. As they cruised down Flamingo Road in Suge's black BMW, a white Cadillac pulled up beside them, and 13 bullets tore through the car. Tupac was hit 4 times, twice in the chest, once in the arm, once in the thigh. Suge was grazed in the head but somehow survived. Within seconds, chaos erupted on the Vegas Strip, and the world's biggest rap icon lay bleeding next to. The man who called him his brother, Sujo, says those weren't just moments of panic. They were the start of a 6-day spiral that exposed Tupac's deepest fears and final wishes. In a 2025 People magazine interview, Suge describes Tupac's shocking composure after the shooting. Despite his wounds, he claims Pac was cracking jokes with cops as paramedics rushed him away. Suge remembers thinking, if anyone can survive this, it's Pac. The man had cheated death before. He seemed untouchable, but that confidence vanished once they reached University Medical Center. According to Suge, the fearless rapper turned into a man gripped by dread. What scared Tupac most, Suge says, wasn't dying. It was the thought of going back to prison. Just a year earlier, Suge had posted $1.4 million to get Pac out on bond after his assault conviction, a move that tied him to Death Row Records. Now, with the MGM fight possibly triggering a parole violation, Tupac spiraled. Suge claims Tupac begged him to end his life, said death was better than another day behind bars. Suicide wasn't an option. As a Christian, Pac believed it would damn his soul. But if Suge did it for him, maybe God would understand. Suge says he refused. No, Pac, we can't. I loved him more than myself. It's a haunting image, a man unafraid of death but terrified of being caged again. In one wild story, Suge says Tupac even demanded 2 blunts and a bottle of Hennessy in the ICU. When a nurse asked if he was serious, Pac shot back, "Yeah, I am." Classic Tupac, defiant, reckless, and painfully human, but not everyone's buying it. Medical experts say Tupac's injuries, massive blood loss, a removed lung, multiple surgeries, likely left him sedated or unconscious most of those 6 days. Without witnesses, Suge's claims remain impossible to confirm. Then comes his most explosive claim, one that shifts the story from Vegas streets to the hospital bed itself. According to Suge, Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, made the final call. He alleges Tupac, racked with pain and terrified of prison, begged her to let him go. Suge says Afeni gave her son something to ease his suffering. And when doctors revived him, she told them, "Don't do that again. If he's slipping away, let him go." He paints it as a mother's mercy, an act of love, not cruelty. But it's a claim with no proof. Afeni never mentioned such a decision before her death in 2016, and no medical staff ever backed the story. Still, if true, it would rewrite hip-hop history. Even after Tupac's death at 4:03 p.m. on September 13, 1996, the mysteries kept multiplying. Suge claims Afeni demanded her son's cremation within 24 hours, overruling his supposed wish for a public funeral. He even says he paid $1 million for it, though no one's verified that number. And then there's the infamous legend that Tupac's crew rolled his ashes into a blunt and smoked them as tribute. The Outlaws once hinted at it, half serious, half joking, but no one really knows if it happened. What we do know? Tupac's cremation was fast, maybe too fast, and the questions surrounding his death have only deepened since. Even Suge's own story has changed over the years. Sometimes he says he shielded Pac from the bullets, taking the hit himself. Other times, he just describes watching helplessly as one of music's brightest stars slipped away.
I got shot in the head, and I grabbed Tupac and threw him down. On top of him, he went on.
Whether it's the haze of memory or a carefully crafted attempt to look like a hero, no one can say for sure. But the question still hangs in the air. What we do know is that Suge Knight was right there when it happened. Behind the wheel, inches from Tupac as the bullets flew. At the hospital, speaking to Afeni, watching everything unfold. For nearly 30 years, he's carried that night like a shadow. Maybe that's why his version of events feels less like a statement and more like a confession.
They framed me. They blamed me. They said I'm the one who killed him. 30 years. Never said anything different. Because I know the truth. I know God knows the truth. I know God knows the truth.
But Knight's story isn't just about reliving Tupac's final hours. It's an accusation, a pointed finger toward the people he says betrayed them both. The confession, Keef D, Diddy, and the $1 million bounty. For all the mystery surrounding Tupac Shakur's murder, one thing's always been clear. The gunfire that ended his life on September 7, 1996 came from a white Cadillac that rolled up beside Suge Knight's BMW on Flamingo Road. What's never been settled is who ordered it and why. Now, Suge Knight's 2025 revelations rip straight into that question. And they start with a name that's stalked this case for decades, Dwayne Keef D. Davis. A former Southside Crips member and uncle to Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, Keef D has been tied to this story for years. As far back as 2008, he began confessing to his role, first in a police proffer deal, then again in his 2019 memoir Compton Street Legend. He admitted being inside the Cadillac the night Tupac was shot. Claiming Anderson, the same man beaten by Tupac and Suge at the MGM Grand hours earlier, pulled the trigger. Keef D said he handed him the .40 caliber Glock himself. Those admissions, combined with years of street whispers, led to Keef D's arrest in 2023. Las Vegas prosecutors charged him with murder with a deadly weapon, calling him the shot caller who set up the ambush. Witness statements, ballistic evidence, and his own words anchor the case. His trial, postponed to 2026, is being hailed as the first real move toward justice in a mystery frozen in time. But according to Suge Knight, the truth runs even deeper and points straight to one of the biggest names in music. He claims that sometime in the early 2000s, long after the shooting, but before Keef D's public confessions, the two ran into each other at a Lakers game in LA. Knight, newly out on parole, was sitting courtside when he spotted Keef D in the crowd. What followed, he says, was a private exchange that flipped everything he thought he knew about that night.
I see Keef D. Keef D was spooked. Keef D was like, look, I need the money. Puffy them supposed to give me $1 million. They gave us most of the money or half of the money, and that's how everything unraveled for what happened in Vegas.
Keef D, Knight says, confessed right then that the hit wasn't just street retaliation, it was a contract killing. According to Suji, Keef D claimed Sean Diddy Combs, then the powerhouse behind Bad Boy Records and Death Row's fiercest rival, had offered a $1 million bounty to take out both Tupac and Knight, half paid upfront, the rest after the job was done. The motive? Fear. Tupac's explosive rise under Death Row, especially after All Eyes on Me, had shifted the balance of power in hip-hop. Death Row, fueled by Suge's dominance, was eclipsing Bad Boy in reach, money, and influence. Keef D allegedly said the hit was the fastest way to eliminate the threat, and the bombshells didn't stop there. He even claimed off-duty police officers were involved, not as shooters, but as security who were paid to look away. He told Knight names, details, and connections that stretched far beyond his own gang.
According to him, he said it was security that accepted money to participate in it, and it was so-called homeless. So he laid it out to me in a way that he's feeling disgust to me. Then it wasn't just him, it wasn't just Puff.
Suge Knight says that confession hit him like a punch to the gut. His blood was boiling. He wanted to go after Keefe D right then and there, but somehow he held himself back. Instead, he started asking questions, trying to untangle the web of power, money, and betrayal that he believed had cost Tupac his life. This version adds a chilling new layer to what was once seen as just another gang feud spiraling out of control. It hints at strategy, cash exchanges, and major players pulling strings behind the curtain. And notably, it lines up with what Keefe D himself has claimed for years. Back in his 2008 police proffer, and again in his 2019 memoir Compton Street Legend, Keefe D said, Diddy offered him $1 million during a 1995 meeting, a claim he's repeated in multiple interviews and that prosecutors have now woven into their narrative. But Knight's Lakers game story? That's brand new. It's nowhere in Keefe D's book and hasn't been confirmed by any other witness. And while the bounty claim is explosive, prosecutors haven't charged Diddy or anyone else allegedly involved. There's been no proof, no bank trail, no eyewitnesses, no cooperating testimony. For his part, Diddy has flat out denied having anything to do with Tupac's death. Still, Knight insists that the bounty was real, just one piece of a bigger, bloodier rivalry between Death Row and Bad Boy. He even connects it to the earlier killing of his close friend Bunchy, which he claims was carried out by people tied to Bad Boy. The MGM Grand Fight, he says, was simply the spark. The fire had been building for months. Knight also says betrayal made it worse. He claims his own security team never told him that off-duty cops weren't allowed to carry guns, a detail he believes could have changed everything. If he'd known, he says, he could have gone straight to city officials or hired licensed guards, moves that, in his view, might have saved Tupac's life.
If it's true that the police tell you that these off-duty police officers doing security take care of their firearms, they should be brought to the owner of death row. I could have talked to the mayor, recommend some guys with their CCW to carry their guns to do security for Tupac.
That feeling of betrayal runs through every word of Knight's 2025 revelations. He accuses people who were close to both him and Tupac of switching sides, comparing their actions to Judas selling out Jesus for silver. He even drops a shocking name, Snoopy, a likely reference to Snoop Dogg, implying that some in Tupac's circle may have known far more than they ever admitted.
The worst part about it is that when the receipts came back that Snoopy participated, the receipts came back that Brad James, who was his first hand, never told none of us.
The accusations are explosive and totally unverified. Neither Snoop Dogg nor anyone else Knight mentions has been charged in connection with Tupac's murder. There's no paperwork, no receipts, but you can feel the bitterness in Knight's tone. These aren't just claims. They're the scars of decades-old wounds. He also says powerful people tried to twist his own words. Knight alleges that lawyers, investigators, and even people linked to Diddy offered him up to $1 million to sign a declaration claiming Keefe D wasn't at the scene of the shooting. He says he refused.
They doubled down to the point where
Why, he asks, would anyone want him to do that? According to Knight, it was all about undermining the prosecution and protecting certain people from exposure. He even claims lawyers met with Keefe D's son and helped pay his legal bills, part of a coordinated push to control the story and bury damaging evidence. These claims haven't been verified, but they paint a dark picture of a case still tangled in hidden motives nearly 30 years later, and the legal maze isn't getting any clearer. Despite Keefe D's confessions and his 2023 indictment, the road ahead is uncertain. His trial's been pushed to 2026, and the entire case leans heavily on his own words. Statements first made under immunity, later voided when he chose to go public. Key witnesses like Orlando Anderson are long gone. The murder weapon was never found, And while prosecutors have shell casings and testimonies, none of it conclusively ties Keefe D to the trigger that night. Meanwhile, Knight's version only deepens the mystery. By echoing Keefe D's bounty claims and directly pointing to Diddy, he reframes Tupac's death as something far bigger, a calculated operation bankrolled by industry power players and enabled by insiders gone corrupt. It's a story of betrayal and blood money, gang politics and corporate warfare, a cultural battle that spiraled fatally out of control. And through it all, Suge Knight casts himself not just as a witness, but as the intended target. He says the bullet that grazed his skull was meant to kill him, that when that failed, the system came for him instead, using Tupac's death as the perfect excuse to tear down his empire.
They got what they wanted out of it. And they couldn't get it with it. They were able to kill Tupac. They framed it. They blamed it.
It's a story that flips the script, painting Knight not as the villain, but as the victim. Betrayed by allies, hunted by rivals, and framed by the very system he once defied. This, he says, is his truth. The version he wants remembered if he dies behind bars. But here's the catch. Credibility remains the big question. Keffe D's bounty claim has never been backed by hard evidence. Diddy has never faced charges and continues to deny any role. The alleged ties to off-duty cops? Still just theory. And while Knight's Lakers game confessions sound cinematic, it exists only in his retelling. No witnesses, no recordings, no proof. Yet, his words still strike a nerve because they hint at something bigger, that Tupac's murder wasn't just a random act of violence. It was the climax of a perfect storm. Fame, power, betrayal, and greed colliding. Knight insists he and Pac were just pawns in a much larger game, and as the 2026 trial nears, that hidden game may finally come into focus. Prosecutors have Keffe D's confessions, the motive, and the victim. What they don't have, Knight argues, is the thread that connects it all. The money, the planning, the trigger. Whether his story helps or hurts that case remains to be seen. What's certain is his 2025 interviews have reignited a firestorm online. Critics call it another one of Suge's prison stories. Supporters demand justice, even apologies. And through it all, Tupac's image, young, fearless, immortal, refuses to fade. Nearly 30 years after that gunfire on Flamingo Road, the mystery still haunts hip-hop. Because if Knight's telling is true, if that bounty existed, then Pac's death wasn't just tragedy. It was a conspiracy fueled by fear, money, and betrayal that rewrote hip-hop history. And in Knight's eyes, that story still isn't over.
Judas took 30 pieces of silver, betrayed Jesus. Pac did an album, used Black Jesus, talking about himself. Neither one of us is of God. If they can do that to Jesus,
By the time Suge Knight's 2025 revelations hit the world, Tupac's death had already become legend. A story retold in courtrooms, reimagined on film, and dissected in countless documentaries. It was part police case, part cultural myth. Yet Knight's latest words, spoken from a prison cell almost 3 decades later, cut through all the noise with one chilling claim: he's the last man alive who truly knows what happened. The question that shadows every sentence: can we believe him? To grasp the weight of these confessions, you have to understand the man behind them. Marion Hugh Suge Knight Jr. was never just a music executive. He was Death Row Records personified. A towering, intimidating force who turned the label into the heartbeat of West Coast rap. But his empire came with a reputation, intimidation, violence, and control. Tales of threats, fights, and power plays followed him through the 90s, shaping his image less as a mogul, more as a mob boss in designer clothes. His rap sheet backs it up: assault charges, probation violations, and the 2018 manslaughter conviction after that deadly hit and run outside a Los Angeles burger stand. That crime sealed his fate, a 28-year prison sentence at Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility. Today, when Knight speaks, it's from behind those bars. A 60-year-old man whose empire is long gone. Yet, his 2025 interviews reveal flashes of the man he once was. Proud, defiant, but also broken. He calls Tupac his brother. He mourns betrayal. He sees himself as a martyr of an industry that turned on him. At times, his tone almost sounds biblical, as if he's framing his downfall as divine punishment.
Not a day don't go by I don't think about it. not a day I don't feel myself in prison. My worst day on the streets is still gonna be my best day.
By drawing on scripture, Knight paints himself and Tupac as fallen saints, betrayed by those they trusted, sacrificed by a corrupt system. It's a powerful narrative, but also a complicated one. It blurs the line between fact and faith, between real memory and myth-making. What stands out most in these 2025 interviews is how Suge Knight now views himself, not as the untouchable boss, but as an aging man staring down his own mortality. His so-called final truth about Tupac's death feels less like a confession and more like an epitaph, the version of the story he wants carved into history when he's gone. His final words reveal both loyalty and surrender, the last spark of a man still loyal to Tupac, even while trapped behind bars. He admits that for all its danger, the chaos of the streets was better than the slow death of prison. And within that admission lies the essence of Suge Knight, a man who built an empire on fear, thrived in war, and now, decades later, tries to redefine himself, not as the villain, but as the witness, the protector, and the last truth teller of hip-hop's darkest chapter. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, tap one of the boxes on your screen to dive into more powerful hip-hop revelations and untold history.